This week's episodes went pretty fast. There was a lot going on in both of them. But first, Ninninger. QMon is apparently out of the picture for the moment, because, well, he got beaten last time. And, this at least finally allows the other members of, Gengetsu's army to actually do something, because it's pretty much been QMon most of the series. I mean, yeah, there was that one general guy first, but he was more interested in the fight than actually engaging them in any of their activities. Admittedly, the general guy did call in the foreign yokai, but that was kind of not even really their involvement. It was more about those three yokai, so it's nice to see them kind of shifting into, an actual antagonism position. Now, I don't think Kyoimon's actually gone from the series. I think he's just gone plotting his next move, like most of the series. But since we had one ninja left from Izayoi's summoning scroll, they summon a bee woman. Sume Boshi something. It's a bee pun, of course. She attacks, and after hitting Takaharu with a poisoned arrow, because, of course, Takaharu would be stupid enough to do that, Yakumo covers him, as in keeps him from getting actually killed, despite the poisoning, and somehow convinces, through his chivalrous and noble acts, for the bee to fall in love with him. Now, believe it or not, I was actually on board with this plot for the most part, because it's something that was kind of addressed. I initially had problems when I heard it described in the previous stuff, because they already did this with Yakumo and the fucking lawnmower, like 10 or so episodes ago, maybe less. So it kind of seemed like a repetitive plot to have this whole romance thing pop up again. However, Yakumo is at no point actually interested in her. It's like an unwanted suitor thing, but they need to, I wouldn't say toy with her emotions, but that is kind of what they end up doing. But they need to encourage her to help them, which they kind of do in a back-asswards way, because, they pulled whole Romeo and Juliet gambit on the bee woman for this, when, they could have, asked her. I mean, I don't think they actually ever asked her for the antidotes. I mean, it would have, subverted actually completing this, but, I don't know, maybe one of the others, ask her instead, say, actually, this would have been a funnier situation, that in exchange for the antidotes, they, corral Yakumo into a date with her. I can already see that would have been pretty hilarious, especially since 2 seasons ago, with, Canderilla and Nosan, there being a whole romantic thing with them as a subplot, and them having kind of a deeper connection, and that was not at all explained, and in the 100 years after, there was nothing that came of it, aside from Canderilla being the mentors to the 100 years after Kyoryuger. So, you know what, I would have totally been on board with this had they done it as a, Shinobi decides to turn traitor kind of thing, because it seemed like how she was introduced that she'd never known any type of companionship, so it was odd that she was falling in love out of the blue. The end of the episode kind of wrecks that, but still, there was good setup for this. It's just that, by going the Romeo and Juliet route, they set up the whole romantic situation, have 2 of the ninjas, the other 3, Kinji and Katsumi as well, have been taken out by it. Which, I gotta say, I'm glad that Nagi and Fuka are getting a bit more action in here to kind of even out the, they get more combat experience and training while the others are down, since they are some of the weaker members, not due to their inability, but they're not a powerhouse, and they're not brains like the other four are. They're adepts, but they're not normally frontline. That's been their weakness. It's been addressed in the previous parts of the show, so I'm going to say good one on them for not going the easy route on this. Plus, taking out Takaharu means that it's a better episode because I don't have to put up with all of Takaharu's annoying idiot protagonist quirks. Yay! So, they pull the Romeo and Juliet gambit, which is pretty much try and fake Yakumo's death, but to get the antidote, and do it by Yakumo diving in and protecting his family from the arrows in the whole... Well, I wouldn't say the whole Romeo and Juliet situation, because the Romeo and Juliet situation is star-crossed lovers that are both members of opposing sides, which, yeah, but not in the same context. It's like, Romeo wasn't mortally injured saving saving his family members from Juliet's family members. He died because of a misunderstanding. And that was the ultimate tragedy of it. The misunderstanding was caused by familial interference and refusals to respect the relationship. And it's been forever since I've read Romeo and Juliet. I apologize if I'm off on that, but I'm trying to go by general gist. I haven't been in high school in 10 years. That was probably the last time I read that book and saw the play. And, oh no, there was Cal Calgren's review of one of the movie adaptations of it, the loose adaptations. Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare. I saw that whole thing. Yeah, no. Anyways, so Yakumo is poisoned, and the bee, to save her star-crossed lover, reveals the antidotes, and then they steal the antidotes, revealing that this has all been a ruse that they've been toying with her emotions. Not good. Because another thing they could have done with this is actually encouraged her to leave the surface of the Kiba-Oni. Because through this whole thing, they've been stressing different aspects of being a shinobi. Shinobi are ruthless. Shinobi are focused on the mission. And that's ultimately Yakumo's justification for deceiving and betraying her affections, is that it's for the mission, it's for the family, it's for... There are multiple ways to achieve a mission like this. It's like, one of the tenets of this... It can be seduction. You could have seduced them away or out of the conflict, or to give them the antidote so it would be like a fair fight or whatnot. And since her dying words were I didn't fall in love with the shinobi, the person I love just happened to be one, or to that gist, it's like they're trying to say this was a bit more of a bit more than a sudden infatuation, that there might have been something there, and I'm kind of regretful there's not going to be any further exploration of it. Though it doesn't it doesn't help that when they got to the giant monster brawl with Gekiatsu Daio, the monster suddenly falls in love with Gekiatsu Daio. Why? Is it like its consciousness isn't fully there because it died and was brought back from the dead, giant size or something? It seems like it's undermining the tragedy inherent to this kind of conflict, in that there's because Yakumo was more focused on the mission than actually, trying to seduce her away from this. I shouldn't say seduce, but it ends weaker than it starts, I should say. And that, I find that just... yeah. Dumber Ghost. This one was pretty fast-paced. It does a lot in continuing the establishment from the first episode. The first episode was a lot better paced, by the way. Just hitting, interaction, revelation. It spends most of the episode setting up, so this episode can really give a direction to the series, how they're going to find the other 14 icons that Takeru needs. The day-to-day grind and arc episode structure, in that how they'll be investigating paranormal activities. I hated those movies, by the way. In the area, by them first stumbling into one on their own with some advice from Sage. Not Bennett the Sage, but Sage. And, of course, Akari getting a direction to her disbelief, in that she's refusing everything. And that is frustrating. She's refusing the evidence she has as, ghosts don't exist, this can't be real. Except over the course of the episode, she kind of is forced, I shouldn't say forced, forced to confront that there is something going on here that is beyond logical and it needs to be quantified, and thus that is how her direction in this is going to be, because I started off with her continuing to refuse this, and then it legitimately takes Takeru shouting at her to realize that her disbelief is hurting her friend. And the chewing out could probably have been phrased better. It's just him lamenting his fate all over again, and I don't think that would have been effective as, you really don't believe me that I'm going to die if we don't do this. It's less personal than it should have been to give the kind of impact they were going for. It's like taunting someone with a I shouldn't say terminal illness by saying that these natural remedies will cure them up, and that's not unscientific. I'm trying to think of a good analogy to how Akari was acting. It's like disbelief by justification of science of something mystical. So I'm trying to flip that to something scientific, and then someone who doesn't really believe in science substituting in something that actually won't help the problem. And I'm blanking on a good thing. I'm blanking on a good example of how to relate that, because that's how it was coming up to me, and it's kind of an interesting inversion in all that, to have to force the skeptic to justify their stance in a world where more of these inexplicable phenomena are appearing. And it's like, you can either ignore all of this and cling onto your worldview, or try to find some way to explain it. And I like that they're taking the route with Akari that she's trying to find the way to explain it. Because if you can quantify ghosts, that can mean moving into the range of allowing these battles to be seen by others, and thus the whole conflict becomes quantifiable. Plus, this would help facilitate the drive and ghost crossover we know is coming. Because right now, every time Takeru transforms into Ghost, he becomes a ghost. He becomes invisible, and his conflict is completely unseen by everyone around him. And that's going to become problematic down the line. So they need, maybe after he becomes a living person again, maybe he'll be able to keep his powers, and then he'll be able to manifest as a visible physical rider past this. But this is going to become problematic for the next movie war, the one after the one with Drive. They're probably going to do the Tyson one in April, so it becomes a question of whether whoever's writing it, I'm betting it's going to be Shoji Onomura, because of course it's going to be Shoji Onomura, will even remember that Ghost can't be seen by people that aren't dead, unless they have an icon. I think the unless they have the icon thing was what No, it was what bridged the gap with Shinosuke in the last 2 Drive episodes. So I doubt every rider is going to get their hands on a rider icon. But even if they do, Takeru's ones have to be the ones of dead spirits. So even if they get icons that are endowed with legend rider spirits, which we're pretty certain the toy line is going to do at some point, they're not going to be ones that can empower Takeru to revive his life. So, the Ganma attack is related to Thomas Edison, because the Ganma is the Tesla Ganma, and it wears a Tesla-themed jacket to give it lightning powers! I really like the design of this guy, too. I'm forgetting the priest's name. It's the 2nd episode. I'll probably start remembering it soon enough. So please, if you're going to write a comment about that, I know I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry. It takes a bit of time to get it. So, where was I going with this? Akari and the priest guy independently figure out that there's been some weird happenings relating to electricity and power trains. Akari, because one of her professors was asked to look into it, and he didn't have the time, which coincidentally led to the meetup at a professor's lab. I remember the professor's name because his name is Sonata. Now, Sonata is relevant because this is electricity, this is science, this is powered. This is a Fies reference! Mari Sonata, the female lead of that series. And I remember this because I'm working on those reviews. I literally am starting editing today, which means, since I'm releasing this tomorrow, it will be yesterday. I will be a video into my editing session for that, and where was I going with this? Yeah, so a lot of people have already noticed a lot of references to the previous series. There's a magic circle that appears around the Ghost Driver when it manifests the Gongon Saber, and the Gongon Saber appears in a flash of light that's similar to Black RX summoning a sword. The opening sequence for Ghost has an opening vibe similar to Kuga and a few other Rider series with the nature of how it's structured. Like a bit of Gaim, a bit of... I know there was one where they were flying before. I'm blanking on it because... Now, the flying thing is actually indicative to a few different series. I equated it to Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds loved that kind of imagery with it. But yeah, the references are popping up all over the place. And people are just trying to track them all down. And I'm missing 5 Rider series now. Blade, Hibiki, Kabuto, Den-O, Kiba, that I've only seen partially. So, and you know, my memory's not perfect, so I'll try to spot the ones I find, but you'll probably find a better listing on the Kamen Rider Wiki as people insert them into the episode listings. Anyways, Sonata is trying to create a teleportation machine, and he worships Edison, which is oddly convenient, ridiculously convenient at that he holds such a fascination, and the Tesla Ganma is using him to inspire him to build this portal device. Unfortunately, this is not the kind of portals that have GLaDOS supervising them. This is actually a portal device that opens a Ganma hole, which can release Ganma en masse onto Earth to then... I have no idea. We haven't been elaborating on what the Ganma really want, aside from to cause havoc and devour the Ghost Parkas to become stronger. In the specific, when they finally manifest the Edison Ghost Parka to become the icon, the Tesla Ganma devours it and becomes a giant Ganma, which goes to try and open the Ganma hole wider, faster. And during this, it takes Akari for a ride, and then we get something weird. See, we are now shown a support mech entity called Captain Ghost. It is a battleship that unfolds into an iguana that combines with Ghost's motorcycle to become a powered walker that can fight off giant Ganma. Now, they need to fight off the giant Ganma because they can't destroy them when they're in the giant form. They have to... Well, they do destroy it, but it's more like separating the Ganma from the Ghost Parka to reduce his power back down to something manageable. So, this is where it's really obvious the show was getting overly fast-paced, because Yurusen, why do I remember the Ghost Helper's name, if nothing else, is the one that summoned it, and it's presumed that this was prepared in advance or as part of the ghost fighting equipment for dealing with giant Ganma like this. It's not really established or elaborated on at this point. If it's elaborated on later, I will be okay with it, but it just seems out of place with how the rest of the episode was going to just suddenly have the giant thing going, when they're also doing a form in the same episode. They're introducing a new form. Edison form. Edison Parka. Edison Soul. That's it. Edison Soul. Why did I forget that? I am a big fan of the Mega Man Battle Networks, and the Soul Unison system, that was my jam. I mean, I preferred the style system more, but the Soul system worked for me in those games. So, yeah. The Captain Ghost, yeah, that's the name, breaks up the giant Ganma, and then we get Edison Soul. So Tesla shocks Edison style, and he absorbs all the electricity. For those that don't know about the whole Edison versus Tesla thing, Tesla accused him of stealing several of his inventions or ideas in collaboration, and they're kind of like AC versus DC in power conversion. And of course, people love to use Tesla as the mad scientist for these kinds of things. So I found it kind of amusing in that kind of illusion they were doing the entire episode, because it shows a bit of thought into this that I don't want to say the last few series have lacked, but it's because they really haven't. It's like none of the series since Decade have really had that bad an issue with their storytelling engine. No, I shouldn't say that. They had issues with their storytelling engines, but they knew what story they were going to tell. But this shows a bit more of a planning, even on the filler or intermediary episodes, that I hope holds through. I wish the pacing was a bit better, because everybody's talking fast, the editing is tight, there's not really much of a chance to breathe and get to know the characters better, which, again, my big issue with the early side of Drive was there wasn't enough character establishment, and the main plots were a bit stupid and repetitive. So, Edison Soul. I liked it. I didn't think it was bad, and it's keeping with the whole theme of... Not really theme, but it's showing it as differently designed from the Ore Soul and the Musashi Soul, that they're simple, but they're reflective of the theme. And, that kind of simplicity is appreciated in a... not simplicity. That, they don't look generic, is what I'm saying. They have their own personality, even though they're keeping with simple designs to them, since there's going to be a lot of forms to count up to the whole 15, 16, whatever. Even though we know that there are going to be more riders and more souls than just the 16 Takeru needs to gather. But at the end of the episode, they get how they're going to be doing this. There's setting up a paranormal investigation unit. Okay, I can kind of see that, especially with the, them as a shrine. So it's like, it makes sense as a setting piece to have them do exorcisms, except this isn't a Christian church where they would do that. This is more, I don't want to say Buddhist, but Shinto. Probably Shinto. I have no idea if Shinto believes in that kind of, okay, yeah, previous Sentai and Kamen series have kind of done that. I guess they could, see that as believable. Kind of scatterbrained today. So yes, good episode of Ghost again. Its issue was it was a bit too fast paced for its own good. Ninninger I thought was good. I said that already. I'm not getting to Ultraman X. I'm sorry. I know I need to watch it. I know I need to support Toku on Crunchyroll. I just don't have the time. I barely have the time to do these vlogs, because, yeah, that's a time-consuming activity, because I need to finish editing the Fives videos. There are going to be 6 of them. Yeah. Then I have a Patreon request to do, and I need to have stuff I need to finalize for the end of the year, because the Fives videos are my November videos, and I only have a few slots left in December to finish out the year. And I need to be focusing on those, so I don't have the time to go back to watching 3 series at a time for these vlogs. Next week or so, you might not see videos, because I need to focus on finishing what I have and start on what I need to do, and it's going to be something that will... It's like taking a lower priority in the order of things that need to be done. Okay? And that's all I have for this week, so thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.